I was muted I was muted the whole time. I was muted the whole time. Dumbass. Thank you for pointing that out, Angry. We have a talking like a fucking idiot. Oh yeah, we have a guest, and you're gonna love it. Oh, there he is. Here is the guest, everybody. Let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. George, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
How you doing, my man? Good to talk to you.
Doing good, and likewise.
You in Texas?
No, I'm in California, in Los
Cal.
Angeles.
Okay. So a brief background on you. So you grew up where?
In Texas and in Massachusetts for high school.
Mass.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in
Um.
Mass. I was in a couple years in Mass, and then a couple years in Indiana at a military school.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Oh shit. How'd you like that?
it was good, man. It was a good experience. Learned a lot of discipline. At the time, I wanted to be a pilot, and it was the only high school that had an airport. So I figured if I had to go to military school in order to fly at that age, that's what I was going to do. So that's what brought me there.
How old are you now?
41.
41. Okay. So for everybody watching, this is George Foreman the third. I mean, what is that? What they call you? Third? How's it go? How do you?
Yeah. We all have numbers. My dad's senior. Then there's my older brother that's junior, and then I'm the third. Then there's the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. My two nephews who make 7 and 8.
Okay. So like when your dad calls you, does he just say three? Like what's he call you?
Oh, we all have nicknames.
You do. Oh, you're Monk, right?
Yeah, and I'm Monk. That's right.
Monk, right? And by the way, 41. I'm 47, but you look way younger than 41. So God bless.
I hear that a lot. Thank you, man.
Yeah. When did you have an amateur background, or if so, what kind of amateur background?
No, I didn't. In fact, when I first started boxing, the whole the plan was just to have one amateur boxing match, and for whatever reason at the time, it was really hard to find an amateur heavyweight that had zero fights or one fight to fight me. Just based on my dad's reputation, because I really could, I had just started back then, and but anyway, I couldn't get amateur fights, so finally I said, you know what? At least if I go pro, then someone's going to show up to make their check, uh, get their check, and I don't have to worry about people pulling out of the tournament the night before or pulling out of a fight the night before because they're intimidated, for some reason.
Did,
So I wish I had amateur career. I really wish.
well, were you when? At what age did you start wanting to get into boxing?
Not till I was like, I thought about it. Actually, I never really thought about it until I was in my 20s, and when I was 19, I believe 19 or 20, I was at the Lennox Lewis fight when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, and Emmanuel Stewart, who we were close with for many years. Uh, I think 2 or 3 fights before that, he kept saying over and over, "George, give me your son. I'll turn him into a champ." And he would say that, and I'm 100% sure he was just joking, but he got my attention. And then I remember when I was at the Lennox fight, Lennox walked by, and I remember thinking he's not that big. Like, he looks like, and I was 6'4" at the time, and Lennox is still big. But I said, you know what, maybe I could try it and see what it's like. And then years later, I gained a lot of weight, maybe 3 years after that, and I just wanted to lose the weight. So I got into boxing as a way to lose weight, get in shape. Um, Wanted to make it a bucket list thing with the amateur boxing, and then eventually just decided to go pro. And then me and my dad enjoyed it, so we did that like 15 more times. So,
Um, when you said you lost weight, how much weight did you end up putting on?
I had gotten up to about 290 pounds, almost.
What? Okay.
And I
Like
started. What's that?
you like so like 40, 50 pounds you gained.
No, I'd gained all 90. So I had been in school in California, um, and then when I was just shy of 21, I moved to Texas, and in 1 year I gained like 90 pounds, and then I kept it on for a little bit and finally wanted to get it off. I was 200 pounds when I moved.
Okay. Um, wow. And now you are 6'5", correct?
Yeah.
And you fight around what, 230, 240?
Right now, it's 250 is probably where I'm going to fight now. In my previous career, my first 16 fights, I was anywhere from 231 to 256, but most of my fights were like 245 ish. And
Okay.
now I think 250 is the right weight.
Okay. And for everybody watching, George is 16-0 with 15 knockouts, right?
Yep.
Okay, very. That's it's impressive. That's impressive. No matter who you fought, I tell people all the time, getting knockouts as a pro is it's impressive. When you have a multitude of them, it's a hard thing to do to knock people out. It is, I believe.
No, it's not easy. I know.
No, no, it's not. Um, you know that you weren't in that video when your dad did maybe a year ago where he was hitting the bag and it was clearly somebody else came in and was hitting it, right?
That was my little brother was in that video.
That was your brother hitting it?
No, no, no. My little brother was.
That
Remember,
was your little
someone was.
brother who took it. Okay.
Yeah, cheering for him.
Why didn't your dad hit it? He just can't anymore. He didn't want to. Why didn't he actually hit the bag? Out of curiosity.
My dad can hit the bag still.
He just didn't want to.
No, he can absolutely still hit the bag.
No, I mean in that video, it wasn't him hitting it.
You know what? I don't know. I mean, he hits harder than that actually.
I believe it, but in the video, it was like a cut. It was like pretty obvious that it wasn't him hitting it, and then they cut back to him. And I was curious why he didn't hit it because I was assuming he could still crack it.
My dad, he can punch. He can punch much harder than what you saw in that video to this day.
Wow.
It's kind of like discouraging because I don't have that type of power.
Does he still work out?
Yeah, quite a bit.
That's great. I mean, you obviously have some power. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean I can punch. When I really do it, but he was special. So no, never gonna just try to be like any. I don't want to be like anybody in particular, but I'm definitely not gonna like try to force that.
I just
approach.
dropped a video of which I called it one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen, which was him against Lyle. And
Yeah,
wow,
that was a knockdown drag out, wasn't it?
that was crazy. And it showed your dad. He showed something he never had to show before, really, which was the grit, getting back up. You know what I mean? He just kept going.
Well, yeah, he said that with that fight, we talked about that one a lot. He said that he had a lot of excuses in the press why he lost the Ali fight, a short count, the tight ropes, and so on and so forth.
And I heard him say about the water, right? The water was drugged.
There's a number of different things, right? And so, but then he said, now what am I gonna say? I'm in my home country, and this guy's just knocking me down over and over. So he said that he decided I'm either gonna die on the canvas, fighting, or but I'm not gonna die on the stool. That was his thing. He's like, I'm not gonna quit. You're gonna have to kill me,
Wow.
or I'm gonna win. And that was it for him.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, that was an amazing fight. Yeah, and I guess you were too young to remember a lot of those. Some of those fights.
That was 8 years before I was born.
Yeah. But you're old enough to remember the Moore and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I remember that when it happened.
Yeah, I interviewed Moore not too long ago. Actually, we talked about that. I think he's digested it now. It sits better with him over the years, but that must be hard to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes to lose, right? Especially with the most coveted crown in all the sports. So
Right.
yeah, that was tough. But
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I said my dad had been on the other end of that with Muhammad Ali, so it happens.
Yeah. I mean, losing is I feel like as long as you learn from it. I remember afterwards he did the five guys in one night, right?
In
Remember
Toronto,
that? Yeah, that was. I don't know what prompted that, but it was cool to see.
Yeah, it was really about him showing that he had stamina, and everybody had always since the beginning critiqued, said he's great, he has decent defense and really good power, but he can't last more than 5 or 6 rounds max, and so and everybody said with Ali he gassed out, and that's really what happened for the most part, and he just wanted to prove that he had the stamina, so he fought 5 guys in one night, 2 rounds apiece.
Wild, and none of those were actually on his record, so I guess they were like exhibitions.
Yeah, to get that sanctioned, you had to make it an exhibition. There was a couple guys of those 5 guys. I think one for sure, but maybe 2 were guys that he had fought before. But it was an exhibition.
Wow, that was wild. So who's trained you? If him or who's trained you? Your career.
Yeah. So I mean, all my training's been with my father, George Senior. So he trained me for about 5 years straight, and then mentors me now. But I live in California now, so he can't train me because he lives in Houston. And then now I have a coach named Hernan, who he's kind of like he's the best best trainer you never heard of. And I met him. I've known him for about 6 years now, from New York, the Bronx, I believe. And
Okay.
I think
Well,
he's an
man.
excellent coach.
Okay. 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 And so that's who you're with now, and you have a fight coming up, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I have one coming up. I just had one last week, and down in Mexico. And then
Right.
if all goes well, I'll do another one on June 26th, hopefully.
You
We'll
had
see.
one last week because it's
Yeah,
not showing up on your box rec.
yeah, it's not up there yet.
So you're 17-0 then.
Yeah, yeah,
And did you win by knockout with that one?
yeah. It was the referee stopped it. It was a body shot, and the guy said he couldn't go on.
Okay. Have you been down as a pro?
Hmm. Yeah. I
Oh,
was down. There's a guy named Eric Lindsay on my record, and he he hit me with he played a trick on me. I taught my I had an amateur boxing team in Houston, and it was a trick I taught them over and over and over, and he pulled it on me. But I was able to get up and get him.
yeah, I see. Yeah, it says you in the box rec you both went down once.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you? Have you been down sparring before?
No, I've never.
So what was that? What went through your head when you went down for the first time?
It wasn't until after the fight that I realized I'd gone down. I mean, technically, I didn't hit the canvas. My glove touched the canvas, like caught my balance.
Got you.
So I didn't climb off the canvas or anything like that. But having said that, it was just funny because I'd gotten I've been used to being on the other side of it and getting the knockouts and the knockdowns, and I see the referee counting my face 5, 6, and I'm like, why is he telling me to count? He should be showing the other guy to count. I swear. And then he gets 7, 8. I'm like, yeah, like let's go. Like why, it's down. I figured I'd knock him down, and so and then we got in the clinch, and I said, did I knock me down? And then shortly thereafter, I hit him with a left hook and got him out of there.
That happened to me once. The only time I went down was in sparring, and I got hit. Sometimes you get hit, and it like turns black for a second, like
Yeah.
And then the coach jumped in, like, "You okay? You okay?" And I'm like, "What? Well, yeah, it's just he hit me with a good shot." Turned out my knee hit the ground for a second. I got right back up, but I had no idea what.
Yep, that happens.
But I was overreacting. He hit me with a good shot. Big deal. Fine.
Yeah, I didn't remember a lot of it, man. It's crazy.
That is. So you turned pro in 09, correct?
Yeah.
And then, so it seems like you took some time. I'm looking through your box rec. You took some time off, right? Yeah. Wow. 2012 was your last fight before.
Yeah, I haven't fought in 11 years.
What made you stop fighting that time, and then what made you start it up again?
At the time, so my dad started training me in 2008 into 2007, early 2008. And he insisted that if he trained me, I have to train other people at our youth center. And I was like, well, what am I going to teach them? I'm just learning. He said, teach them whatever I taught you that day. And that turned into me coaching boxers 4, sometimes 6 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week for 5 years. And I realized I had a passion for the teaching. Like I really enjoyed it. I looked forward to it, and so on and so forth. And so, and then the other thing was I was coming up in my 15th fight, and I felt like, for the first time I started thinking about my finances based on my fights. And because I had been involved in the business world prior to that. And I was like, I don't know that I don't want to wake up and say I can't pay my rent because I didn't fight. I never wanted that relationship with boxing.
Right.
And it's great to get the big paydays. Nobody doesn't want that, of course. But to be, saying I have to fight 4 times this year, and if I don't, I'm going to have a financial issue. I felt like I would take fights for the wrong reasons. So I started a gym, which was a for-profit version of what my dad had in Houston. I decked it out so I could make money. So I decked it out so it was the ultimate boxing training facility. 2 18-foot rings, 80 bags, sauna, steam room, rainfall showers, juice bar, physical therapy room.
Wow.
And nicer equipment than Equinox because I was like, I also want to make money. And so I figured if these people aren't into boxing, at least I have nice equipment and nice locker rooms. And that gym, which was supposed to hopefully just break even, be where I make enough money to pay my bills between fights, turned into the most popular gym in Boston. And we won a bunch of awards. And so I said, let's open another one. Then we got encouraged to open another one and another one. and eventually 8 franchises, and I just never had the time to go back. And I tried it twice, and I like was missing sparring and a few things of that nature, missing road work because I had to work because I don't want to slow the growth of the business down. And I realized I just had a moment, and I said I'm not going to do it if I can't do it right. So cut to right before COVID was about to start again because I was finally at the point where I didn't have to be in the gym every day. I had time to train. Then COVID happened, and had to get through that. And obviously there were no events. And then after COVID, I kind of started a new gym, another gym in California, in Calabasas, and looked up. I had the time again, and I said, let me do this before I get too old.
Okay. And I mean,
Simple as that.
Obviously, you probably heard this 1,000 times, but fighting in your 40s with your bloodline is good luck. You know what I mean?
We should. I mean, I spoke to my dad about it about a year and a half. Yeah, about a year ago. And he said that because I've been training for about 18 months now. And he said that, I'll be stronger than I was, at 30. I'll be faster. I'll feel like I have more endurance, a lot of things like that. He's like, just be careful. And he said that his physical prime was 46. That's where he felt his best. It was a combination of time, experience, timing, being able to go 12 rounds and all that. So he said, you got a few years to do it. So be confident.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said about like being more, up here, being more mature in life, in boxing. You know what I mean? It's
In a
like too
sport,
bad. Go ahead.
no, I was saying that one of the last like major, major contact sports that rewards technique and accuracy over strength and power. Like basketball and football, if you have a base level of fundamentals, but really great athleticism, you can excel, right? And strength and power and speed. But with boxing, you have to have an outstanding set of skills. Plus, you have to be in great shape. But you don't have to be a physical specimen. It rewards the accuracy and the skill. In most other sports, no matter how skilled you are, if you couldn't jump high or run fast, you couldn't compete. So boxing's special like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's why you can do it at later ages. That's what I mean.
Absolutely, and especially you have a lot less mileage on you with no amateur background starting later, so that's good.
That's
You know what I mean?
as long as I train the way I should, it's a plus for sure.
Yeah. Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Pepperdine University for 3 years, and then I finished my degree at Rice University in Houston.
What was your degree in? What'd you get a degree in?
Business, with a minor in sports management.
Okay.
Or basically sports business. Yeah.
Who who have you sparred with that I would know of? Some fun stories or whatever over the years. The champions, former champ, anybody known that you sparred with?
I don't think. I mean, I sparred with my dad, so there's one.
Like all out?
Yeah. It was, and he was about 64.
What is he?
He was probably 62 at the time. He's 75 now.
So you guys went all out.
Yeah, in 2008, however old he was in 2008. And
you didn't feel kind of like going all out on somebody 60 something? He was just too tough. You had to do it.
If you watch my dad, it's like, and I'm saying this because I respect him as a competitor and a coach as well, completely aside from my dad. But if you watch him, nobody really goes wild on him. Like he has a way of controlling and stopping your flow and disrupting you and so on and so forth. You clearly can't go wild, so you have to settle in box. And he finally pulled up on me and was about to land a hard left hook to the body, like the type where you're gonna crack a rib. There's the timing and leverage and placement was just, and then he like motioned to hit me and then pulled his hand back, and I was like, all right, you win, buddy. You got it. So
okay.
But yeah, so I sparred with my dad. But aside from that, I don't think anybody really of note except for what was his name? Oh, Cassius Chaney. Do you know who he is? A heavyweight. He's about to fight for the WBA title.
No.
He's fighting the young man from Vegas. He's really kind of awkward, but gives people a hard time. The bounty hunter, they call him.
The bounty hunter, or the Michael Hunter is called the bounty hunter.
Michael Hunter, yeah. So Michael Hunter. He's fighting a guy named Cassius Chaney, and though whoever wins that will have the WBA interim international title, not the super one. But anyway, Cassius, me and him, for my last fight, which is in the last fight before this one in 2012 in Cancun, for that training camp, he was one of my sparring partners. And now it looks like he'll be a heavyweight champ if he can keep winning 2 more fights.
Are you a student of the, like, do you watch boxing a lot? Have you always?
Yeah, actually, these are his shorts, which is funny. He left them at my gym in Boston. Yeah, you asked, do I watch boxing?
Yeah, are you a student?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'm actually trying. I've been such a boxing geek for the past like 20 years now, probably 15 years, that I'm trying really hard to get back into basketball. But I love boxing. Like, it consumes my time, and that's really the only sport I watch.
Okay. So who is, besides your father, who are your favorite, maybe top, your favorite?
Top of all time, like dead or alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, man, I love Henry Armstrong. Just to see him go and know what he was capable of. Like, here's a guy who could hold the featherweight. I think it was featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight title all at the same time.
Yes,
and
all at the same time.
And go up and down and defend them and weight. So I think that guy, I love watching his tapes. He get a rhythm. He just couldn't stop him. I love Roberto Duran. Smooth, powerful, rugged. Is just, I think, the best balance of all things in boxing maybe that I've ever seen. And his best years are years that people don't even give him credit for.
Yep.
So I think Sugar Ray Robinson, where would boxing be without him? I feel like, the best quote is, you've heard, if someone said if God, sketched a fighter or made a fighter, it would be him. He does everything. So I love him. I wish he knew how to clinch better. So used to let guys hit him behind the head, but he's great. And then the other two would be Charles Burley. There's not a lot of tape on him, but a little bit of tape. Charlie Burley.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, the little bit of tape. I feel like there's just a lot of legends that he would have given a hard time, if not beat. And so he's one of the craftiest boxers ever. Muhammad Ali, just, if you look at his body of work as a human being, and they said, wow, this guy boxes as well, I feel I put him in the category of, which I've heard my dad say, the greatest man to ever box.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other names, obviously, like Pernell Whitaker. Love to watch him. Oscar De La Hoya, like, great classic boxing in his prime.
Underrated. People
forget about him. There's so many names, but that first. Oh, and Joe Louis.
Joe Louis. Come on, Joe. Yeah. To me, the greatest boxer who's ever lived, and I talk about this a lot on my show. Everybody has a different criteria for what's the greatest, right?
Yeah.
My criteria is in their prime. I don't really look at guys who go way out of their prime.
Yeah.
And so in the prime, the greatest fighter I've ever seen by far was Roy Jones. I've never seen anybody do.
Yeah, Roy. See,
nobody.
Like, how do you not mention Roy? Yeah.
But people get it twisted because they think about all the losses he accumulated later in his career.
Yeah, but when he was in his prime, was quite. It wasn't just like 1 year or 2 years. It was like
15 years.
Yeah, he was just. Nobody could do anything north or south of him for a few pounds. Yeah, so Roy Jones, I completely forgot about him. Floyd Mayweather, like, I mean, I think I'd go as far as to say the most effective defensive fighter ever. Because a lot of guys would be so defensive they stink it up, and he somehow made you interested in the fight. But I mean,
possibly.
A true master. Yeah,
possibly master. Jack Johnson, where there's a lot of tape, but it's real bad, old quality. It's kind of hard, but he was a tremendous all-around fighter, but especially defender.
Yeah. Unorthodox, what we would call unorthodox these days, defense. He was kind of like, I feel like he had a feel for boxing that he was born with.
I also think he's
guys.
No, go ahead.
Guys like Julian Jackson, his prime didn't last that long. But he was like Mike Tyson as a 160 pounder. So go ahead, Todd.
I was gonna say about Jack Johnson. I think he's the most dominant fighter ever. I mean, he would just hold people up. Yeah, he would just toy with them.
Go 40 rounds.
coy
Just
with him,
going to
mocked him, you know, super brave for the times, you know, everything
yeah,
about him. So Willie Pep was a great defender.
yeah.
So who's your all-time, your top 5 of all time? Who you think, not your favorite, but who you think are the greatest of all time?
Just pick 5
Your
and
top
put.
5.
Do they need to be in order or just they're in there?
Nope, nope, nope,
Yeah.
no.
So my
If you
greatest. Okay.
want to put them in order, it's up to you.
My greatest. I'm gonna say Joe Louis based on how long he held the title, and even though like we wanted him to be tested more at times, like the way he dispatched everybody was consistent and how often he fought, and I think he proved what he could do in a rematch with Jersey Jones, so on and so forth. And he was older and out of his prime at that time. So
Max,
Joe,
you know,
yep. And then the guy who carried Joe's bag to the I think Brewster Rec Center or something like that, Sugar Ray Robinson, right? So I think Robinson obviously had a lot more going on as a fighter than Joe, but I feel like if he carried Joe's bag, then you got to put him next to Joe, one step behind.
yep, agreed.
I'm gonna say Floyd Mayweather, 50-0. How many world champions he fought? I remember hanging out with Roger one night, and we somehow Floyd came up, and he was like, my nephew. When he got his first belt? And I was like, when? He goes, and I was guessing. He was like, no, no, no. And he said 1998. And like the fact that people, like he's been champion, and and he's obviously retired, but he was champ from like 1998 to like, was it 2016, something like that when he retired? But
Yeah.
and then it was champion, and then always fighting world champs, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Floyd, and his plus minus was nuts. You got to say Roy Jones. I'm glad you brought him up because I forget about him. And then my last would be.
That's tough, right?
Chavez. I'm gonna say Chavez because
89-0. I mean, he should have lost to Purnell and to Meldrick, but whatever.
Yeah. He's a legend. He got a decision here or there, but yeah, 89-0, and the way he was smooth and could like be aggressive without getting hit, and then turn into an absolute monster. I feel like, yeah, I have him right above Durant for some reason. So I would say Chavez.
See, you and me are on the same page. I don't put Ali in my top 5. A lot of people do. I don't, because kind of what you just said. As a human being, yes, but I look at just what you do in the ring personally.
Yeah, and if you look at him in the ring, if his entire career he could have boxed like he boxed in like 1964, 65, if he could have done that and maintained that level of attention to detail and athleticism and being in condition, taking care of his body and all that, not getting hit, if he did it the same way Floyd did, then I think he would be in that category. But what he didn't do, and I'm not criticizing him because what have I accomplished, right? This is Muhammad Ali we're talking about. But all I'm saying is it's not that he didn't do it. But there was a lot of fights where he won the fight, but it was so spectacular because he almost died, right? Like Joe Frazier, they almost killed each other. Like that's a fact. And those are the fights that they just keep going on for like 6 more rounds. Someone's dying. There's they had the brothers of Spinks, Leon Spinks, I believe. Like Leon mopped the floor with him for a few rounds. There's guys that just beat him, and in the last 2 or 3 rounds, he comes out like a superhero and wins. So we love him, but he took 7, 8 rounds of brutal punishment multiple times. And I think for that reason, if we're just talking about merit, then I feel like some of these other guys you have to bring up because they didn't get beat up like that,
I agree. I put Willie Pep there as well. What he did was just tremendous. And it's weird. Like nobody ever brings up Rocky Marciano. There they go every time. But Rocky. But should you undefeated?
Yes, absolutely. And he fought some killers.
He did. But he was only. I didn't realize this. He was only champ for 3 years.
I didn't know that, but I believe it.
Me neither.
I remember. I just remember he retired early, but 3 years.
He was 32 when he retired.
Good for him.
But back then, 30s was like, even in basketball and a lot of sports, 30s was retirement age in the 80s, 90s, 70s.
Yeah, because those guys fought so often,
They fought a lot, yeah. So that's the way that was. Who are your current top 5? Back to back.
Current top 5. So I won't put them in any order. I'll try not to, but well, we gotta talk women real quick. I mean, Clarissa Shields, she continues to like impress me. She's just, I feel like she's so good she doesn't know what to do with herself right now. She's challenging boys, fighting in
Everybody,
UFC.
yeah,
So
she's giving away 100K to any girl from the street who could beat her. You saw that?
I didn't see that, and I just all I'm saying is she's that great that she's bored
Bored.
being
Yep.
being the world champion, the most dominant world champion ever. The girl from Detroit, what's her name? Baumgartner.
Oh yeah.
I love to watch her fight, and then and of course was it Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So on the men's side, Gervonta Davis, I love a puncher, a guy that can, without getting hurt, lose a few rounds to set up a big shot and to have that type of confidence in his power. So I love Gervonta. I think Devin Haney, like what happened to him was like absolutely tragic. And irregardless of whether it happened for cheating or not cheating, the point is like he had to go home feeling like he lost, and I hate that for him. But one win doesn't define real champions, and so I feel like he's still one of the most talented fighters out there. And I love to watch him fight. I really do. When he's not trying to beat up the person and like be aggressive, and he just sits back and boxes, it's one of the most amazing things I've seen in recent days. Then we have the guy from Japan. I can never pronounce his name. Inoue. Yep. And then we have Terrence Crawford. I probably put right at the top, based on skill. Based on accomplishment right now, I would put Usyk right above him, just because, honestly, because he's a heavyweight, right? I'm partial to heavyweights, but also the fact that he got the lineal title. He beat a man 40 pounds heavier than him. That's 6'9", 5 inches taller. Like no other weight class really has to ever do that. And I think and he's got all the belts. So I don't love his style, I like guys that bang and throw a big right hand and all that. But
Right.
But I have so much respect for him, and I'm trying to study kind of how he approaches it. So Usyk, Terrence Crawford, Inoue, I'm sure I mispronounced that.
Oh, you got it right. You got it right.
Tank, and somebody else I mentioned. But those are the people I really look forward to watching.
I would throw in Benavidez. Most people don't, but I would.
It's a good point, and I think it's based on very much based on merit and how he won some of these fights. So I agree. You got to put him in that.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention Canelo just because I just feel like that the pound for pound crown doesn't really mean anything to him right now. He held it for so long, and if he wanted to get focused on being the best and fighting the best right now, he could. But I think he's focused on getting what's due to him. The paydays that he can get because he's so great, and I think he deserves that. But pound for pound, it's if he wanted it, then I would say he's number one. But that's I don't think that's where his head's at. And mine wouldn't be either. So I get it.
I'm with you. I mean, yeah, Canelo, Bivol, Beterbiev, those guys are also, notable mentions, right?
Yeah.
So you saw the Usyk fight, and you think Usyk, because it was a little controversial, it was close. You think Usyk definitely should have won that fight?
No, I'm not going to say that. I think, do I think there's a strong argument that he won the fight? Absolutely. Right. But me, I look at in that fight, even though Usyk has all the belts, I wish I had all the belts, and I would be happy having all those belts that he had. But to me, just as a boxing historian, a purist, and a fan, Tyson Fury is the man who beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. He has a lineal title, and he's got the WBC strap. To me, he's the guy that deserves to be in the position where the other guy has to take it from him, right? So did Usyk do enough to take it from him? Well, I think I scored round 1 for Fury for sure. Round 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that's 5. I think you could argue he won round 2, but maybe not. But let's just say he did. There's your 6 or...
Didn't he win 7 and 8? Wasn't he whooping his ass up until that punch landed?
7 is when he slowed down. So I think he won 7, right? So if he won 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 6 rounds, right? And then you just have to be convinced that he won 1 or 2 more rounds, right?
He won 12.
He won 12, so there's 7. And and the other boy would have got 5 rounds plus he got the knockdown, so you have an even fight. And then I felt like Tyson Fury had about 1 point, 114, 113, and
That's what
I thought it was very clear.
George. That's exactly how I scored it.
Yeah, that's how I scored it. I said I
Literally
give him 1 point.
114, 113 by 1 point. But just like you said, here's the problem. The optics that we were left with, the second, third of the fight was Fury just being chased down by this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why do you think a man that big, who showed that he can use his weight and size when he fought Wilder, why do you think he decided to not use his weight and size against this fighter? Instead, he just was constantly retreating.
I think he knows how to do it, and I saw him do it in spots. He'd grab and kind of hold and push down and beat him on the body, on the side.
But not much.
And that was kind of it. And then he would just let go. And I saw him do it twice, and I said, that's what he needs to be doing. Right around round 7, when he gassed out, he got a little tired, which happens around that time, especially for heavyweights. And so, but I think if you look at him coming in, he looked really lean. He was 262. And he looked leaner than we've seen him in a long time, which I think means he had a decent amount of muscle mass on. So he's really like a 255 version of Tyson Fury. And it doesn't look like he trained to bang. It looked like, and especially the way he was dominating rounds 3 through 6, like complete utter domination, especially like rounds 5 and 6. For him to be that sharp, that means that's how he was training. Stick and move, grab, turn, uppercut, stop him, turn him, and just moving. That takes a lot of energy, but it doesn't look like he trained to bang. It just doesn't. And I think if he had, he would have come in a little heavier. And had he had that, he would have fully taken advantage of being a big man. And he didn't use that piece.
And I think the secret to success would have been balance. Do a little bit of the boxing, but then lean on his ass.
Yes.
Why do you think?
Let's go.
What right? And Fury did it to Wilder. Why do you think Fury chose not to use his size, though? I know you don't know what
that I don't know. I will say, I would guess. Remember, I'm talking as a fan. I'll talk as a fighter real quick. I would guess. I really believe as a fighter, if you don't spar a certain way, you're not going to be able to turn it on in a fight, even though you've been doing it all your life. Like the most recent sparring, that's what you're going to naturally want to do in the fight. And so why didn't he strategically think he had to do that? He was probably beating guys in the gym that he felt were as good or maybe better, and dominating them with that movement and so on and so forth. But you didn't have a guy like Usyk that decided he was just going to die that night and drop his hands and stop covering up and then just start throwing bombs on you for 6 rounds after you've humiliated him. He probably didn't have a guy like that with that type of heart in camp. So I'm sure it worked for him in camp, and I'm sure they had good reasons because he's a smart guy. He's the lineal champ. He's smarter than me at boxing and more experienced. But, there's always an X factor with another guy in the ring that's a champion,
Yeah, man. No, that's
you don't know what he's going to do.
That's great insight. I pick him to win in the rematch, but I also picked him to win the first fight. So I could be. You got him in the rematch, or how do you see that happening?
I have him in a rematch because I think it was a lapse in if he trains, it was a lapse in focus, and there was that strategic error of not using his body. 2 things that he can do really well, right? And then I think they'll be ready. Like if you look at round 6. That was the last of the rounds. Usyk had his binoculars on, both hands up, just walking up and kind of just standing there. Round 7, he made a very major adjustment. That was a stark contrast to that, where he took his hands down to mid-chest and just started letting them fly and not caring whether he got hit or not, and doing it with a lot of energy and gas. And I think they'll be ready for that adjustment. So they're ready for the adjustment. He's more physical, stays focused. And he, Tyson Fury's 6'9". He is a bigger man. I think he wins that. The question is, does he need that? Should he just retire and keep the $300 million he made in the past 3 years?
I don't think there's any way in hell he's retiring. I think he's not gonna. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna retire. I think they're gonna fight in October, and he was retreating the whole fight. So Usyk, this from being in the ring. When somebody is constantly retreating from you, even if they're tagging you up as they're moving, it almost powers you up, and you keep chasing them. Like it's psychologically like, oh, they're running from you. Yeah. So that's why he was just able to. And it's harder, as to land punches with any authority when you're on the back foot. So that's why I think Usyk, just like you said, dropped his hands and just started going at him.
I think that I feel like they could see that he was slowing down and getting a little bit tired. But yeah, also Usyk's just special, man. He really is a special type of beast.
He is. He absolutely is.
and
So
I'm
that
and I'm happy he got his decision. I'm happy for him, happy because he earned it, and it wasn't like an upset. It was just close, So
it was close, and I don't. Even though I had Foreman, Jesus. Even though I had
Fury,
Fury by 1 point, I don't argue it going the other way because it was super close.
yeah, super close.
Super close. Okay, well, I guess before we wrap it up, what's your goal in boxing? Like, if things can play out the way you want it to for you, how would that look?
I want to be heavyweight champ. That's my goal, and I'm not putting myself in a rush. Should the fight opportunity come, I'll take it because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity whenever it happens. But my goal is to stay focused for another 18 months. That'll be 3 years since I started my comeback, and this time next year, be ready for a fight of that caliber, which means I got to fight just to slowly get sharp again and then improve on my skills. I probably have to fight 4 to 5 more times this year. And then the beginning of next year, really step it up and challenge, myself and the team that me and the work that me and my team are putting in. So that's it. Be ready for it. Be ready for a title shot by next summer, but also be as close to being ready as possible so I can take the opportunity if it comes.
Wow, yeah, that's a good plan. So fight 3, 4 more times, then start stepping up the level of competition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Smart. Do any of your other siblings box?
I have a brother, George Fourth. He does a little bit of boxing. He's had an exhibition. He's an athlete, first and foremost. Great wrestler, great football player. So it's a recreation for him. But I'm sure he'll probably do it once or twice more in his life. He really loves to compete. And then I have another brother who does jiu-jitsu, and that's really it.
Wow. And was your dad supportive of you guys boxing, or did he not want you to?
And I had a sister who boxed many years ago. She was the first one of us. My dad, he's not gonna encourage it. He's not just gonna wake up and say, "Hey, I want you to be a boxer." He's definitely not gonna do that or pressure us. If we show interest in competing, he just discourages it because he's like, I had no choice. That's how I could pull myself out of poverty. You guys have choices. You have college degrees and experience and relationships. So I'm going to discourage you first. But at which point he realizes that we're going to do it no matter what. Then he provides all of his support.
That's great.
That's the type of guy he is, and I really appreciate it.
That's great. And he's, he has all his faculties. He handed down way more punishment than he received, but he has all his faculties, and that's great.
Yeah.
It's a rough sport.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Tough one. All right. Well, hey man, look, I appreciate you talking to me. Let's
Thank you, man.
Chat again soon.
All right, great chatting with you. Take care.
All right, man. Take care. Peace. All right. That was George Foreman, the third, aka Monk. Should have asked him why his pops called him Monk. Didn't get to it. Cool name. I guess they all have to have nicknames when they're all named George and Georgina and Georgette. But pretty cool. All right, guys. Yeah, not too many of you came in to watch. Surprised. What up, Dwayne? You just got in here? You just missed me talking to George Foreman's son. My anniversary was good. Thank you. Appreciate you. So let's chop it up a little bit, and I'm gonna get out of here myself. Can't be messing with you guys. You guys see the video I dropped? Dropped the Shane Mosley video. It's a lot of views already, I think. Last I looked. I mean, a lot considering I just dropped it. In like a couple hours, it was doing pretty well. Shane was no joke. I had Shane. He liked it too himself. Sugar Shane. I called the video the third sugar. We had 2 sugars. Robinson, Leonard. The third sugar. Sugar Shane. Sugar Ray, Sugar Ray, Sugar Shane. I got it at the good parts. I bet. Damn. Why is it so slow tonight? Friday night, maybe? People are partying? What's going on? What is going on? Now you guys want to, any topics you want to hit up before I bounce up out of this biatch? All right. I will talk to you guys later then. I'm going to end this. I'll catch you guys tomorrow night. All right. Appreciate you. Hit the like button on the way out. Peace.